What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
What is going on, OTB Nation? Welcome into episode number 362 of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA ranked, and of course viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box podcast, the official lacrosse podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network, where we are Super Bowl champions, baby. Oh, it feels so good. It feels so good to be on the mountaintop. I can't tell you, like, Deej, I know we've predicted champions on this show for the PLL, for the NLL. Having it right here at home. Nothing better. Nothing better. It feels good that you were on the correct side of history with us, rooting along the way. And man, it took the Avengers 2 times to beat Thanos.
Oh my, here we go.
And let me tell you, when Jalen Carter bum rushed Patrick Mahomes right in the face, it felt like that scene when the Avengers were jumping the shit out of Thanos. And it was just so good. It was so good. We'll be waxing poetic about the Philadelphia Eagles on Underground Sports Philadelphia for the foreseeable future. So if you want to hear all of that, there are 2 episodes out now by the time you guys are listening to this where we are just waxing poetic. You'll see me live from the championship parade on Friday. I'll be there. Christian will be there. Casey and Owen will be there. It's going to be absolute scenes. And I just caught wind that Michigan native, Michigan alum, Eagles legend Brandon Graham will be wearing Chris Long's fur coat that he wore at the 2017 Super Bowl parade. And it's going to be an absolute, just glorious day. And I cannot wait. We've got a lot to dive into in the lacrosse world as we've got NLL to recap and preview. We've got midweek champ series check-ins for both the men and women. I will be down there this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, to take in the final round robin game and then the playoffs. So I'll be down there. Looking forward to getting down there to take in champ series again. And then Deej will dive into the college space to get you ready for another weekend and midweek of college lacrosse. But before we get into everything, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at OTB Laxpod. I know we've been a little quiet on the socials. That's what happens when your company has a team going on a Super Bowl run. There's precedence, if you will. But follow us on the socials at OTB Laxpod. Follow DJ SCS_next great. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Follow Hoots at Hoot Sports Media. And follow Chase at the PLL Pipeline. Subscribe to the pod, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave us a 5-star review. Goes a long way for helping the show continue to grow. Helps more people find OTB and our entire catalog of podcasts here on the Underground Network. And subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. That is where you get full video episodes of this show every single week, full video episodes of every show on our network, clips, shorts, live streams, original video content. We're now on the road to 2,000 subscribers, as we are now sitting at 1,021. Subscribe. Leave a like on the video, drop a comment in the comment section, and click that bell icon so you know whenever new videos go live. And if you guys want the OTB College Show every week, we're halfway there. We're at 50 subscribers. Get us to 100 subscribers on the Outside the Box podcast YouTube channel, and it'll be Deej and Hoots every week breaking down college lacrosse throughout the college season over on that channel, and it'll be on the same RSS feed for audio-wise. But if you want the OTB College Show, go subscribe youtube.com/@OTB Laxpod and get that channel to 100 subscribers. And this show is proudly presented by Shootout For Soldiers. Guys, we rattled off their entire slate that is upcoming for 2025. And this coming weekend is the Military Appreciation Games at High Point, but still on the schedule that you can still register for. The 285 Atlanta Lacrosse Invitational on March 1st, Houston, Texas, March 8th and 9th, Jacksonville, North Carolina on May 25th, Long Island on July 9th and 10th, Massachusetts on July 12th, Ohio on July 19th, Canandaigua on July 26th and 27th, Virginia on August 2nd and 3rd, Colorado on August 9th, Northland, Wisconsin on August 30th, and Baltimore September 5th and 6th. Shootout for Soldiers, bringing community together through the sport of lacrosse to help our nation's veterans, and doing a great job for it. They've been doing it for over a decade now, and it's truly one of the best events that you'll attend, whether you're in the lacrosse space or just in general. It's an amazing event. Go to shootoutforsoldiers.com/events, learn how to register, donate, volunteer, and get involved with Shootout for Soldiers, and check out their entire 2025 lineup for where they'll be this year. And again, that's shootoutforsoldiers.com/events. And we thank Shootout for Soldiers for being a proud presenting partner of the Outside the Box podcast. What's poppin', Deej? We've got a lot of lacrosse to recap and talk about, dive into. It's that time of year where it's just full send lacrosse, where we've got damn near every format of the sport happening all at once.
Favorite time of the year. And I mean, I still get all my other sports. I mean, you know, UFC runs year round. Basketball's getting to the best part of the year with March Madness right around the corner, and then NBA playoffs. The Red Wings are trying to make a push for the NHL playoffs after 2 7-game win streaks in the last 20 games. So, I mean, the Pistons are 6th in the East right now. Like, I feel great as a sports fan in the state of Michigan, outside of one team that we'll touch on a little bit later.
Yeah, Super Bowl champs. As I was talking to Deej before we started recording. Every day since Sunday night, I've woken up. I have no stress, no anxiety, no worries. Am I tired because my sleep schedule's demolished? Sure, but who cares? Super Bowl champs. Like, sleep deprivation is temporary. Super Bowl champs is forever. That's how I look at it.
You're hilarious. I mean, it's facts. You will literally, they will go down to Super Bowl champs forever. This will never be taken away from them. But sleep's important, man.
It is.
Don't be depriving yourself of sleep.
Well, it's not that I'm deprived of it. It's just
intentionally.
that I was so high off of adrenaline and just emotion and happiness on Sunday night, and then had to record the podcast, obviously, that I didn't get into my bed until 5 a.m. Monday morning. And then since then, that's been like my internal clock of like going to bed anywhere from 3:30 to 5 a.m. and waking up around like 1 o'clock, but knowing that I have to be up early Friday morning to go to the parade, and then up early Saturday morning to get down to Champ Series in time for the first WLL game. I set an alarm this morning at 10 o'clock to wake up, and I was abruptly, mind you, I got in bed at about 4, so it would be about 6 hours of sleep. 9:30 probably rolled around. My eyes were still closed, but it's like that moment where like you're still sleeping, but your ears are now like aware of what's going on in the real world. And I just hear this loud scraping, like digging noise. And I was like, what is going on? I'm thinking something outside. Like, I'm like, it's not trash day. It's not like trash trucks are driving. They're like dragging the trash cans or whatever. And then it stops. And then it starts again. And I was like, I audibly said, what the fuck are you doing? Because I could tell it was coming from my bathroom. My mom got these fancy new tools at the old hardware store to like empty out the drains when you're like cleaning the bathrooms and stuff, that are like these long, like flat type of tool things that have like these spikes that aren't like spikes, but they're like plastic, like flat spikes to go down and unclog drains and everything, clear them out. She's doing that at 9:30 in the morning. And so I get done showering before I'm ready to come down and record this podcast. And I said, what the hell were you doing this morning? And she starts laughing and goes, I was cleaning out the drains with those tools that you saw laying on the table a couple of weeks ago. And I was like, I thought like cement was being dug into. And I was like, did you hear me say, like, what the fuck are you doing? She's like, I thought I heard you, but I wasn't sure if I was just like imagining that was said or if you actually said it. It was like if you took like nails on a chalkboard, or when like girls have like the nail filer type things, like the emery boards. It was that noise, but like blow out a speaker system loud.
Oh,
It was horrid, like horrific sound. I was like, I almost would rather listen to a woman file their nails with an emery board than that noise ever again. It was that bad. Oh, it was terrible, but it was so goddamn funny. I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
I would have been livid. I do just want to point out to everybody that whenever I stay there, these things don't happen. So I get to sleep peacefully. So don't think that she's over there torturing me when I'm there. It doesn't happen.
And then like the other day, I was like trying to hug her and be like, "Hey, mom, guess what?" And just like pull out we're Super Bowl champs on her. Got the vacuum in front of the TV. Because we're not superstitious, but we're a little stitious. Just took down the Christmas tree for reasons. So she's like, how the fuck do we have a fake tree and there's so many needles from this tree on the floor? So she's vacuuming those up, and she has the vacuum in front of the TV, and I go to like do the thing, and then she yells, "Watch!" right in my ear. And I was like, what the she was like, I didn't want the vacuum to fall and hit the TV. So I was like, so you blow my eardrum out?
Well, watch the vacuum.
I was like, oh my God. I like jump scared. It was absurd.
She's the nicest woman ever. She does nothing
nice
to me.
She cracks me up. Before we start, though, I did want to get your take on the halftime show because I'm a huge Kendrick fan. I know you're a huge Kendrick fan. We were obviously talking about the game for a while now this week, but your thoughts on the halftime show, because I thought he fucking killed it.
I thought the halftime show was great. I thought it was right on point, kind of what I would have expected from Kendrick Lamar. I think a lot of people are forgetting kind of what kind of artist Kendrick Lamar is. He's a very socially active artist. He's a very independent artist, a very almost someone like similar to Michael Jackson, Prince, The Weeknd, where their shows are Beyonce, where their shows are more about them than they are about other people. Taylor Swift is another person that you could throw in there. Like the way that everything is timed, everything is planned, everything has a meaning. Like his halftime show really embodied that. I really liked the way, he incorporated the PlayStation controller. But throwing a prison yard in the middle of it was insane. Man ran 50 yards and like wasn't huffing and puffing. I'm like, hey, yo, this is the best.
Still rapping.
This is the best athlete I've ever seen.
Word for word, bar for bar.
Not a in there at all. Like, hello?
Was doing it in his little flare pants, looking like a cutie patootie, as the girlies were saying.
The Chiefs need to get that man some pads and put him on a go route. He would have been open. Like, what are we doing here? But
everyone calling Kendrick a cutie patootie because of his jeans had me in stitches.
That was so funny. I thought bringing out SZA was perfect. I thought he was going to go solo for a very long time. Pulled out SZA. I was like, this is fantastic. I literally screamed when Serena came out crip walking. Like,
man,
bro, I was like, Serena Williams? Hello? Like, no, bro, he did not. He did. Everything from the symbolism, the song choices, the artistry, he did top tier work with that halftime show.
I don't think I've laughed harder either when you just see DJ Mustard running out, living his best life. Talk about somebody who's been on cloud 9 since the summer when all of this rap beef evolved into what it is. And him getting that moment was just so awesome and so goddamn funny when you just see like the crowd of like the backup dancers and performers clearing and you just see TJ Mustard run out on stage with Kendrick. I was like, yes, give my boy the spotlight.
Please. He deserves it.
That was
But no,
awesome.
I thought the whole show was absolutely awesome.
But yeah, speaking of awesome, we got lacrosse to talk about. And our NLL recap, our rewind, our wrap up, if you will, is brought to you by our friends over at Buff. Guys, their winter sale still going on right now. Check out their winter sale. Shop select items, get up to 30% off select items with our friends over at Buff throughout this winter sale. It's going on, I believe, through the end of the month, so you still have some time to check it out. And also check out the officially licensed Survivor buffs. They've got the shiesties, they've got the baseball hats, the beanies. We love Buff. Use our link in the description and shop the Buff winter sale and get up to 30% off select items with our friends over at Buff. Deej, week 11, 4 games, and the trend continued. The Road Dogs prevailed in every single game. What do you make of, it's tough in a league like the NLL where it is week to week and there are a lot more variables than there are in a traditional 4 sport. What do you make of back-to-back weeks where now road teams have won? I think it's now they're in the last 2 weeks, road teams are 9-2 in the NLL.
I think it speaks to two things. The first is that the skill in the league is getting better. I think when you really look at it, being able to go on the road, especially in the circumstances of the NLL, and win a game is tough.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, backtrack. Doing that in any sport is tough. And then when you add the circumstances of the NLL, that makes it tougher. So the fact that this is happening so often tells me that the mindsets, the skill, the abilities, the thought processes, the IQ of not only the coaching staff and the front office, but the players as well is continuing to rise. You can only continue to win games on the road if you know how to put yourself in good situations, if you know how to handle the travel, if you know how to handle the opposing fans and the atmosphere inside the arena, if you know how to regather yourselves after all of that catches up with you. And those are things we're seeing from a lot of teams in the NLL at the moment. On the flip side of that, something that's not as good is that those home field advantages are not doing what they used to before. And I think part of that is that attendance in some places isn't as high as it used to be before. Teams are walking into the nest and winning games. Why? Because there's not as many fans going to Halifax games as they were 2, 3, 4 years ago. People are walking into before this year, Saskatchewan, people were going into Saskatoon and winning left and right. That's not quite the case now because they got fans into the arena the first couple of weeks and they won games, and now fans are turning out and they're regaining that home field advantage. Buffalo, they turn out 10, 12, 15 consistently. They win games at home because of 10, 12, 15. You have to get bodies inside to actually create that home field advantage that you're looking for. And some teams are doing really well with that, and others are starting to grow that. And then there's others like Calgary, who's also losing games at home because their attendance is dipping. So you have teams in varying levels in attendance and how that's affecting their home field advantage. And if you want to continue to have that, or you want to regain that, or you want to get that even though you never had it, you got to get bodies inside.
Yeah, so week 11, Colorado gets their lick back and they beat Georgia 13-12 in Georgia. Calgary beats Vancouver 15-12. Halifax goes into Philadelphia and wins 14-10. And then San Diego survives in Toronto 11-10. I'll start with the Philly game. It was another weird kind of start, and like that was a game. I think if you go back and watch, Philly played a better game outside of one phase, and that was the transition game. And I believe the end of the day, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 8 goals that Philly gave up in the transition game. Halifax scored 6 to 8 goals in transition. That's like unacceptable is not even the word in that instance. And when you have players on this team that are able to contribute, I love that Mitch Jones can pass and create opportunities. I also would like to see Mitch Jones having more than one goal in a game because he has the freedom of his hands to go and score. I don't need him to always be a facilitator. I would love to see Blaze Reardon getting involved more in scoring. Like, there are moments in this game where the Wings had opportunities and they kind of just went by the wayside. I also think the officiating in this game was very ticky-tack early on. That led to some of Halifax's opportunities as well. But, when Mitch Jones has 9 points, 8 of them are assists, it's like you look at it, how did they only score 10 goals when you have your leading scorer assisting on 8 goals? The big part, obviously, as well, Jake Withers worked the Wings at the faceoff dot, 25 of 28. And the Wings, when they are normally good on the power play, went 1 of 4 on the power play, which is a rarity this season for them. They have the league best power play unit, and they went 1 of 4. So that's a kudos to, Halifax and everything. But when you give up 5 goals in the first, you only score 2. You kind of crawl back in the third, but then you give up 4 late in the game in the fourth. There was no real momentum building. And even though there were moments in this game for the Wings, like, genuinely, one of the greatest goals I've ever seen scored in the sport of lacrosse happened in this game. And that was Brennan O'Neill's goal that I know you and I talk about it all the time, typically during like the off seasons and that blip on the radar when we don't have any lacrosse to talk about. Like, that is a top 5 goal I've ever seen. It was unbelievable, his body control and just the way he was like twisted in half and still found a way to score that. And then you have Michael Sowers' NLL debut, which just put so much juice in the building. Anytime his name got announced, the place went wild. Scores in his, assists, gets his first NLL point, scores 2 goals in this game. His first goal, he's doing the Eagles celebration that the secondary does. Like, he was living his best life, and he looked ready. I think that was a huge sign, especially with Sam LeClaire on IR right now, is that, there was this notion that Michael Sowers was too small to play in the NLL. He made it work, and I think of teams that have had guys that are the quote-unquote too small, the Wings have done a great job incorporating them into their offenses, whether it's Sam LeClaire, Kyle Jackson, and now Michael Sowers. Michael Sowers looked more than ready to play in the NLL, and I was very impressed by how confident Ian Rubel and TK were in just running him out on the floor and having him ready to go in this offense, and how comfortable he looked throughout the game. But there were just moments in this game that the Wings kind of just let slip by the wayside, and the transition game absolutely slaughtered them in this one, and that's why they lost.
Yeah, I mean, I was very thoroughly impressed with what I saw from Michael Sowers. I thought he took advantage of what makes him good: his speed, his IQ, his vision, and then he created opportunities for him to be advantageous and also helpful to his teammates and his team. 2 goals and assists from a guy who hadn't played box in
Since
years.
high school.
Like that's huge in an NLL game. Realistically, from what would you consider Sowers at this point, 6th, 7th in the rotation in terms of like production, what you're expecting? You get 2 goals and an assist from this guy, you should win that game 9.9 times out of 10. Somehow this was one of those 0.1 times where you didn't win that game. And I think that goes back to in between the zones, what hockey refers to as a neutral zone. Mm-hmm. What you get in between those white lines, turnovers there, allowing fast breaks, not finishing on your own fast breaks, face-offs and winning those loose balls. All of that really factors into the success that you have as a team throughout the game. That's where Philly struggled today. I thought the defense did well. You got good goaltending from Demude. You had sparks on the offensive end. You got 10-plus goals. Like we've talked about, it seems like somewhere between 13 to 15 is that sweet spot range for the Wings. Didn't quite get there, but if you clean up the middle, this game might go in your favor. But thinking back to, you could say the same thing about Georgia and Colorado. Georgia had this game, but when you look, they had some uncharacteristic turnovers. They lost that battle in the middle of the field. They gave up some eerie transition goals that they're not really used to giving up. And it led to really Dobson having to stand on his head most of that game, and he did. But that's a lot from a goalie in a league where the offensive skill continues to grow every single year. And really, at this point by the day, we looked up in the last 2 weeks, Sowers has been signed, and so has Pat Cavanaugh.
Yeah.
Like, the offensive talent continues to go up. So if you're going to leave your goalie out to dry, you shouldn't expect to win games. You have to win the middle of the field, or at least create such an advantage on the offensive end by picking up penalties or literally just cashing in almost every time you have it, to where that is neutralized or subsidized. And that just wasn't the case for Philadelphia or Georgia this weekend. Touching on Toronto.
And not to cut you off either, but you bring up Pat Cav signing. You can't tell me that a smidge of influence on both the Seals part and Pat Cav's part on signing was not influenced by seeing what Michael Sowers did this weekend.
I would imagine it was.
I'd say even like a 5% influence was seeing Pat Cav seeing what Michael did and knowing that they're similar in stature and similar in play style, that Pat Cav said, oh, if Michael can do it, I can do it.
I can do it. Yep. Or just not wanting Michael to be ahead of him. You got to think about it. If Mike's going to be playing year round and Pat isn't, that's going to affect Mike when it comes to PLL. Like, yeah.
And on top of that, Pat's now going to be playing with Brennan in the summer. Brennan's playing box. That's going to get Pat more accustomed to the beginning of the season, knowing that Brennan's coming from an indoor season to the style that Brennan's been playing with the Wings.
100%. It's only going to make them all sharper players. So you got to take the advantages when you get them. But I love the Pat Cavanaugh signing. I think we can touch on that at some other point when it becomes a little more relevant, since he's on the PUP list. But I think that is something that benefits both sides tremendously. Are we just going to throw Toronto away or what? Like that this weekend kind of made me upset. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, how did you let San Diego win this game? This was all yours. It was at home. You were doing just fine. You had, like, I don't think that they ever ran away with the game, so I don't want to get that misconstrued out there. But they had a very comfortable handle on this game. There was no reason to believe that a lot of momentum was given to San Diego until the end of the game. And San Diego took off with it into overtime and finished it out. You can't allow that to happen. You just can't.
Did this go to overtime?
I think it did.
No, it was last minute.
No.
Westberg scored with 49 seconds left.
Yep, but basically the same thing. The last two shots from Hellier and Berg, you can't allow them. Like when you look at this game, right? It started 2-1 in favor of San Diego. Halftime, it was
6-3 San Diego.
And you could feel in the second half, even though the score at the end of that third quarter was 9-5, you could feel that Toronto was really like, okay, we've addressed how this game is going. We know what steps to take next. We know how to handle this. We're going to take this game and win it. And they came out in the fourth quarter and lit it up. 5 straight. That puts you ahead 10-9. And you scored your last goal with 7 minutes left in the game. You can't go scoreless for 7 minutes unless you're not giving something up on the other end. Maybe you give up one, you let the game get tied and it goes to overtime. Giving up a second, it's bad. You got to be able to close out games. And at this point, you were doing so well, now we have to question you again. San Diego, you're safe for now, I guess. You ain't in last. you ain't in last, so at least you got that going for you.
Here's my thing, too. I've seen certain sects of NLL Twitter and everything talking about how this was on Nick Rose's shoulders. No, man. Like, do we forget that it's a team sport? And if you don't score, you don't win. It's a total team effort. Like, sure, Nick gave up those goals late, but he's also standing on his head the entire fucking time. He's got the defense in front of him trying to, prevent all of that, while the offense can't fucking find a lick past Chris Riglieri for the final 7 minutes of the game. Like, it's a double-edged sword there. Does it suck that Nick gave those goals up back-to-back late? Sure. But also, your offense after Mitch DeSnu gave you a 10-9 lead, could not find the back of the net again the rest of the game. You got shut out for an entire end of game half of a quarter. Like, that's not winning lacrosse.
Yeah, you can't allow that to happen. You can't. And then, like you said, you're leaving your goalie out to dry. At least people should show him the respect of what he went out there and did, which was held his team together and got them a win.
Yeah.
Everybody can't say that. And then, touching on my boys.
Great win for you guys.
Great job. Great job. There were multiple times in this game where I think I'm going to start a new thing, because there's one phrase I repeat when I'm watching my favorite teams and I get upset. It's, hey, yo, what the fuck are we doing? And sometimes that counter gets pretty high. For example, watching Michigan basketball play Purdue a couple weeks ago when they lost by like 30-some, the score at halftime was like 65 to like 23 or something like that. When I tell you there were 8 minutes left in the first half, and my "Ayo, what the fuck are we doing" counter was already at 25. I was not bullshitting at all. That was literally at 25, and there was still a whole another 8 minutes left in the first half and the second half to go. This Calgary game, for at least they play 60 minutes a game, I'd say for about 32 to 34 of them, my head was just going, "Hey, yo, what the fuck?" And then all of a sudden, here comes Jesse King. Here comes Curtis Dixon. Here comes Tyler Pace. Here comes Dane Dobie. And I was like, okay, I can breathe for a minute. But then you could see also what worries me is that if we run into Vancouver in the playoffs, we run into Vancouver later in the year and we need a win, that could be troublesome. Because who knows those 4 or 5 players better than me, than themselves that I just named? Kurt Malosky. And where does he happen to be? On the bench of Vancouver. That's what made this game so tough, is he was able to take away the things they wanted to do, or he was able to put them in positions that he knew his team would be successful in because what they're good at and what they were trying to do. Obviously, it didn't work all the way, but man, did it make this game close. Man, did it make this game good. Vancouver needs to be on everybody's watch, and I can say that for sure after watching these two teams battle for what I believe was the second time this year, and we got get back on them for the first time. And I believe we played them again this year, so that there's 3 times this year we play.
I mean, the way you guys won this was in the first and second quarter. You had a 5-goal run. Tyler Pace, Dane Dobie back-to-back, one of them on the power play, Hayden Dixon, and then Ethan Ticehurst. And then to start the second quarter, you go Curtis Dixon, Tanner Cook, Smith, Dixon. That's where you win. Winning by going on runs of those lengths are hard to dig yourselves out of the hole there. I was, we talked about it when we were previewing the game too. Shout out to J.I. and Steph, because they went 50-50. Even Steven at the stripe, 15 of 30, both of them. And I mean, good on you guys too. Like, you could have scored more. You went 1 of 3 on the power play. So like, even in a solid 3-goal win, like, there's still more growth to build upon. But to kind of like level the scale too, fourth quarter, you shut Vancouver out the entire quarter.
And that's where championship lacrosse is played. When you're going out and you're playing in the most critical times of the game and you're shutting teams down for the entire quarter. That's huge. Like, I can't tell you how important that is to a team to be able to say, okay, we know that our best players are going to show up at the times that we need them and they're going to be successful. And that's what we showed. And also, our offense is elite. That's what this game showed. When you are almost even in the loose balls battle. You're almost even in turnover battle. You're pretty much even on the extra man opportunities. It comes down to who can just create. Our offense was able to create better than theirs. You're 50-50 in the faceoff battle. That means you got to make your possessions count. Our offense can make possessions count. Can everyone else's is the question. And this weekend, Vancouver showed that they don't quite have the offensive talent to battle with a team like Calgary, which also means I don't think they can battle with a team like Philly. There's a possibility Saskatchewan gives them a serious push off the offensive talent that they've shown recently. Toronto, if they get it together, San Diego, if they get it together, Philly will be a very tough matchup for them based off the offense that they have. So that's the one thing about Vancouver is they're in a great spot. Defense is playing well. They're getting great effort from stat. I think the bigger thing here is that you got to continue to work on your offense, creating good opportunities, and knowing how to create for yourselves in those tough scenarios.
I'm also just looking at the schedule so far and like games played for each team. It's crazy that we are heading into week 12 and going into week 12, Buffalo's only played 6 games.
We've only played 8.
You guys have played 8.
Yeah.
Which is like the norm. Everyone's around like 8 or 9. Buffalo's played 6.
They've had, but that's good and bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
They get a lot of time to rest now. They get a lot of time to watch, be prepared.
They're the only team there too, which is also weird that like every other team has had that. Like going into this week, they have 2 games this weekend for the first time, so they'll get up to 8. But it is fascinating that through 11 weeks of the season, Buffalo's only played 6 times.
No, that's extremely fascinating. But I think they're going to run into that situation where they have a lot more bye weeks toward the end of the season, which could go good or bad for them. Maybe they're getting rest, but is rest going to be good for them heading into the playoffs? A lot of questions, but we'll find out later. At the moment, the real big question is anyone going to beat Buffalo before that?
Yeah, it'll be a big test for them with 2 games this weekend. One on the road, one at home. We'll get into that in a little bit. But our standings after this past week, Buffalo still at the top at 6-0. Saskatchewan in second place at 6-2. Calgary in third at 5-3. Colorado in fourth at 6-4. Philly drops to fifth on this losing streak. They're 5-4. Georgia 5-4, but by virtue of a negative score differential, they're behind the Wings. Ottawa's at 4-4, and Halifax is at 4-4, and they jump into a playoff spot now if the playoffs started today. And your teams on the outside looking in: Vancouver at 4-5, San Diego at 4-5, Rochester at 4-6, Toronto at 3-6, Vegas at 2-6, and Albany at 2-7. Which brings us to week 12, Deej, a loaded weekend of lacrosse that gets started on Friday night. We got 3 games on Friday, 4 games on Saturday, 1 game on Sunday. It's a loaded weekend, and it is all brought to you because we're previewing it. We're getting our eyes right. It's brought to you by our friends at Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the game. From sunglasses to blue light glasses to prescription lenses, Tomahawk Shades has you covered. Guys, there's no reason for you to go out and spend hundreds upon thousands of dollars on sunglasses or blue light glasses when Tomahawk Shades is giving you a better quality product for a fraction of the price of those eyewear companies. Tomahawk Shades has been working with us for nearly 5 years now. We love them. The quality of their eyewear is second to none, and the price point is unbeatable. Go to tomahawkshades.com or download the Tomahawk Shades app in the App Store or Google Play Store. And when you go to checkout, use code USP for 25% off your next order from our friends at Tomahawk Shades. Again, download the Tomahawk Shades app in the App Store, Google Play Store, or go to tomahawkshades.com. And when you go to checkout, use code USP to get 25% off your next order from our friends at Tomahawk Shades. Deej, the Week 12 slate on Friday. We've got a TSN Friday night doubleheader. It will be Buffalo and Toronto kicking things off at 7 Eastern, followed by Saskatchewan and Calgary in a Battle of the Prairies at 9:30 Eastern. And then at 10:30 Eastern on Friday, Vancouver at Vegas. Then on Saturday at 6 Eastern, a rematch of last week. Philadelphia heads to Halifax for part 2 of the home and home as the Wings take on the Thunderbirds. Then at 7 Eastern on Saturday, it's Ottawa versus Albany. in a battle of adjective mammals. Then at 7:30 Eastern, San Diego heads to Banditland to take on the Bandits. 8 Eastern, Rochester at Saskatchewan. And then on Sunday at 7 Eastern, a little Sunday night lacrosse action, your Roughnecks host the Desert Dogs for your second home game of the weekend and Vegas' second game of the weekend. Multiple doubleheaders this weekend for teams. Buffalo has a doubleheader, Calgary, and Vegas. How are we feeling about this weekend? What games stand out to you? What are you looking forward to? And do you think Calgary can finally win at home?
Listen, bro, you're not going to keep talking about us like that. All right, we're getting close.
We talked about it last week. You guys are dominant on the road, and home is where you've struggled. Now you get two opportunities to clean up at home.
I'd rather be dominant on the road. We got to go and win road games in the playoffs. So you know what? I'm not that mad about it. All right? I don't know if you can hear in my voice. No, it is actually very frustrating that we don't win in the Saddle Dome. Like, what are we doing? Hello. We're the only place that has teal turf. That should be an advantage. For whatever reason, it's not. But this weekend, truly, obviously, I'm looking forward to welcoming in both Saskatchewan and Vegas. I think the one advantage to us playing back-to-back this week is there's no travel for us. There is a game in between, so we have rest, and there's no travel. I think that's huge for playing two games in a weekend. Being able to be at home for both, absolutely no travel, is a huge advantage. And I like that the tougher of the two games, in my opinion, for us is Friday instead of Sunday. I think it gives us a chance to really go in, focus, beat Saskatchewan, and play a tough game and probably learn a few things about ourselves before welcoming in Vegas and being able – what I think is you're going to be beat up after a game. I would rather play Vegas, who's probably a little bit tougher of a team, like physically in the way they play and the energy they play with. But if it comes down to being in a tight game, once again, going back to offense being able to create for themselves, I trust our offense to create a little more than I trust Vegas's. Not that Vegas can't. They have plenty of guys who go out and create for them. That's kind of basically the only way they score. But when it comes down to it, tough game scenarios, we have not only the skill but the experience in those situations to be successful. Obviously looking forward to Buffalo on the back end. I think front end, things are fine. You're playing Toronto, who, yes, just came off a loss, but they're still struggling in their season. They've won a couple games, but they're still trying to put it all together. It'll be close, just like the last one was. I told everybody the last time they played, that game would be close. And nobody really said it, but I know for a fact people were like, what's this dude talking about? He don't know ball. He don't close. Toronto sucks. They haven't done nothing all year. Buffalo's best team. They're undefeated.
If you Google Toronto Rock and click on their Wikipedia page, the owner section says Buffalo Bandits.
I mean, yeah, there's that.
Don't fact check me, but I'm just saying the Bandits own Toronto Rock.
But it's just the fact that game was going to be close because of how that rivalry is and how they play with each other. It's, for lack of a better rivalry to pit it next to, Michigan State basketball or Michigan Ohio State football. Those are two times where either one of those teams could be bad. They're going to show up for that game, and it's going to be
Red
close.
Sox Yankees.
It's going to be close. They don't blow each other out. They don't. And if they do blow each other out, it's a scenario like Michigan 2 years ago where they scored 2 touchdowns after already being up 1 late in the fourth. Like, they're not blowing anybody out all game. That's what you're going to see with Toronto and Buffalo. But I'm interested with Buffalo on the flip side of that, coming out of that game on Toronto and playing the very next day. Short travel for them, not a big deal. On the road first, home for the second. But you're playing a tough San Diego team who's coming off a win against that Toronto team you just played. They're trying to get back into the swing. They're going to be coming hard. So is Buffalo able to stay undefeated after the weekend? Is Saskatchewan able to bounce back, in my opinion, after losing to Calgary? Obviously, I'm not picking Saskatchewan to beat Calgary. So are they going to be able to go back home after losing to Calgary and take down Rochester? Philly, can you get back at Halifax in the home and home? But other than that, I don't think I care to watch the Ottawa-Albany game. Jeff Teat has not been Jeff Teat this year. Like I said a few weeks ago, I think part of that is due to him not having to do as much than what he had to do the last couple of years for New York because of the pieces that he has around him. But I also don't see him trying as hard to be Jeff Teat either. And I think that's taking away some of the excitement of watching Ottawa. And Albany is Albany. They have taken a huge step back from who they were last year. And that game is kind of just filler space for me this weekend.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how Buffalo responds in a doubleheader for the first time this year. I'm looking forward to the Wings. You know, they're going to be motivated. You know, we know that team really well with guys on that squad. In this little rut they're in right now after starting so hot, now kind of like leveling out. I want to see them kind of showcase their bounce back on the road and get a win that they know they deserve. It's going to be tough, but you know, it's tough to face the same opponent in back-to-back weeks. But I think when you're coming off a loss, you get up a little bit more for that because you want to get that revenge factor. So I'm excited to see how the Wings respond on the road there in a hostile environment. I'm looking forward to Saskatchewan, Calgary. I think that's going to be a doozy of a game on Friday night. And I think Rochester, Saskatchewan is going to be super frisky. It's another team with a doubleheader that I think I forgot to mention. It's Buffalo, Saskatchewan, Vegas, and Calgary, all with doubleheaders. So looking forward. My biggest takeaway is going to be seeing how these teams with doubleheaders this weekend perform, not only in the front half, but obviously that back half as well, to see how they respond. I do think Calgary has a little bit of an advantage because they do have that day of rest in between from Friday to Sunday. So that's a benefit for sure. And you're not traveling. So I think that's a big time benefit for this doubleheader for the Roughnecks. But it's going to be a loaded slate. We're excited for it. And I think without any further ado, we head on over to the pick pond and dish out some duck feeding to bring you all our Week 12 NLL Picks of the Week, powered by Kenwood Beer, the official beer partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's a refreshing light beer, just 4.1% ABV, 120 calories, just 8 grams of carbs. It's the beer of champions. And you can go to kenwoodbeer.com and use the Kenny Finders. So you've got Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Maryland, New Jersey, and Delaware areas. You can also find it at your local liquor stores in those markets. Again, that's kenwoodbeer.com. Must be 21 or older to do so. And Philadelphia, New Jersey, Delaware, please celebrate responsibly. And of course, please drink responsibly. Deej, we start with our records from last week. You are now sitting at 36-24 after a 1-3 week. And I went 2-2, and I'm sitting at 28-32 on the season. And this week starts in Toronto as the Bandits take on their arch nemesis, the Toronto Rock. I think we're both in lockstep that the Bandits are going to handle business against the team that they own.
No question. And once again, Buffalo's in that uncharted territory of being picked unless I have a reason to not pick them, which is losing.
Then 9:30 Eastern, the back end of the Valentine's Day doubleheader on Friday night, TSN Lacrosse. It's the Saskatchewan Rush, the Calgary Roughnecks in a battle of the prairies. Deej, how we feeling?
You know how I'm feeling. Go next, baby.
Them
the only next I'm gonna be seeing for the night, so it works for me.
Pause.
I had to slip something in there, bro.
Pause.
That one was on accident.
We're in a timeout already.
That was so on accident, bro.
Personal foul. Unnecessary bonking. Deej fence.
Oh.
That's why the people listen to this show, I swear to God.
100%.
I think this game's gonna be very close. I'm intrigued to see how Naso versus JI goes down. Saskatchewan's been very good, and it's tough for me to pick against them right now. But don't worry. Later on, you guys have another game that I feel a lot more confident in picking the Roughnecks. But in this game, I'm going to go Saskatchewan because right now, they really haven't given me a true reason to pick against them. But I do think this game is going to come down to the wire. I think it could go to overtime, and I think this is genuinely a real test for Saskatchewan more than it is for Calgary because it is a rivalry game. It's a lot of young guys on this team. Seeing how they respond in that type of environment in such a hyped up rivalry game like the Battle of the Prairies. But I'm going to go Saskatchewan in this one. And for a lot of sakes, I hope Calgary proves me wrong because I want to see the parity of the league. And I think it would be good to see them win this one. 10:30 Eastern on Valentine's Day, the final game, Vancouver at Vegas. Vancouver coming off the loss to the Roughnecks. Vegas still kind of trying to find a stride here. They're at home. How do you see this game playing out, DJ? I think this is one of the harder games to kind of sift through and kind of pinpoint how it's going to play out.
I don't think so at all. I think Vegas is going to come out with some fire. I think they're going to be excited to be playing at home. I think they're going to be looking to get back in the win column. And I think it's going to be a great game. This might even be the best game of the night. Friday night is tough. It's so hard to pick a game of the night looking at Friday night. Battle of the Prairies is always nothing but pure action. You know what you're getting with Toronto and Buffalo. This game is sneaky because Vancouver still has so much to prove that this iteration of their team can do something, that Kurt Malosky isn't just a good coach in Calgary, that he can make something of the group that he has now. And Vegas, on the other hand, is still trying to prove that their market deserves a team and that they're successful and that they're ready to be a quality franchise in the NLL. It's going to be a bunch of prove-it action and feelings out on the floor. The vibes are going to be high. But to me, this is a little bit easier because Vancouver has just, to me, been a better team all year. Even though this game is on the road, I think Vancouver has enough to go in and take care of business.
I am going to go with Vancouver as well. I hope Vegas proves us wrong because I want to see them kind of find a little momentum. But I do think Vancouver is going to come in motivated, and it kind of follows the trend of the road dogs. I don't know. It's one of those things that, like, I'm following the trend right now until it falls off the rails. So I'm going with the road dogs. And I'm not talking underdogs. I'm just talking they're a bunch of dogs. And Vancouver gets a win in Vegas. We go to Saturday at 6 Eastern, Philly, Halifax rematch. You guys already know where I'm going. Watching that game last week, I think there's adjustments to be made. I think Ian Rubel knows the adjustments that need to be made. I think the Wings get revenge. Another road team gets another win. Give me the Wings.
I like the Wings here as well. I thought that last week was an anomaly. I think also losing a guy like Sam LeClaire does take an effect on your team. Sowers did a great job filling in that spot, but he's not Sam LeClaire. And that was proven to be true. I think that this team bounces back better. I think that the bright thing is that they just played this team last week. So it's fresh. They know exactly what they're going to be coming out with. They may make small adjustments, but I feel like those are going to be easier to grasp onto and to make in-game adjustments for. So I like Philly to kind of get – a lot of teams have gotten their get-back this year after losing to a team. I like Philly to continue that trend.
7 Eastern, Ottawa and Albany. I might sound crazy here, but I think a week of rest did well for Albany. They're at home. Not saying that means much in recent times in the NLL. But I think them being able to stay put and kind of be centered and in market is going to help them a little bit. And I just don't like the way Ottawa's defense is playing right now. And I think these two offenses can go blow for blow. I'm going to go with Albany to get the home upset win over Ottawa.
The only reason I'm going with Albany here is because I trust them to have the ball in their sticks more due to a certain man by the name of Joe Nardella. That is literally the only reason I'm going to choose them to win this game. I don't necessarily trust them other than that. But I'm also not trusting Ottawa based off of how they played in the last few games. They started good. I believe they started the year 4-2. and
Don't like that.
their last two have been very troublesome,
They also have a
especially
negative goal differential.
in between the lines, transition, and defensively. Those are some, and it's not always the same thing. Like one game where they're playing bad, it's the defense. The next time it's transition. The next time it's in between the lines. So it's really just a matter of fixing so many issues where Albany's just hungry and looking for a win to prove to their fans they need to keep showing up and showing out. So yeah, I'll go with Albany as well.
We move to Bandit Land at 7:30 Eastern Time. San Diego against Buffalo.
I think I'm still going to rock with Buffalo. I think they're in that weird territory where, like I said, I can't really pick against them until they give me a reason to. And I don't think San Diego is enough of a reason just because they didn't play the night before.
Yeah, I'm with you. Going to be intriguing to see how that shakes out, but until they give us a reason and they have a loss in that loss column, you got to go with Buffalo to get the dub. Saturday at 8 Eastern, Saskatchewan heads home to play host to Rochester. Frisky game. Could be if you're a gambling person, I would say sprinkle a little on the over in this game because I think goals could be flying. Again, Saskatchewan's built up that home floor advantage again. Rochester traveling west. Saskatchewan, sure, they're on the road on Friday, but it's not as far of a travel. I'm intrigued to see how a team like this responds in a doubleheader weekend, but I'm going to go with Saskatchewan to get the dub. I just think they're the better team.
A 2-0 weekend from Saskatchewan, eh? I'm not mad at it.
I see what you did there.
I ain't mad at it. I will agree with you on this game. I didn't agree with you on the last one, but that's due to fanship loyalty that we real fans over here. But I do think Saskatchewan is going to bounce back in this game. I do think that they're going to give Calgary a fight. They're going to go home. They're going to feel good about themselves, even after losing the Battle of Prairies. And then they're going to shift their focus quickly to, hey, we have to play again. And it's the next day, so we can't harbor on that. But we are going to, bring in Rochester, who's struggling. So it's a good chance for us to fix a lot of things that cost us the night before, and I think they will. I'll take the Rush to win as well.
And then the final game, Sunday at 7 Eastern. It's Vegas and Calgary. I'm going with the Roughnecks to get a dub. I just think they're the better team, and I think this is a good spot in my picks case for them to bounce back and get a dub, so I'm going with the Roughnecks.
Oh, thank you. We appreciate that. Obviously, I'm going with the Necks. There's no reason for me not to. They're the best
there
team.
You have it. Our picks. We're both going Buffalo. I'm going Saskatchewan. You're going Calgary. We're both going Vancouver. Both going Philly. Both going Albany. Both going Buffalo. Both going Saskatchewan. And we're both going Calgary. And those are your Week 12 NLL picks of the week, powered by Kenwood Beer. Which shifts us to the PLL and WLL Championship Series. It is brought to you by our awesome PLL app code. Guys, new season of PLL Nation is here. A lot of fun twists and turns throughout the app to get it going. You're watching the games from home. You're at the games now. Be sure to sync up so you get them badges.
Yep.
It's an easy way to get points. A lot of fun stuff going on in the app right now. It's our go-to destination for all things PLL. A bunch of WLL stuff as well in the app. Plus PLL fantasy going on, which is always fun. And Deej and I, we've got some gangster lineups.
Mine's okay. Well, mine's okay. Yours is pretty solid.
Mine's pretty gangster.
Mine's is trying.
I got Mac O'Keefe, Chris Eslanian, Matt Moore, Xander Dixon, Nick Washuta, and Liam Entenman, and they all balled out. 20 points was my lowest from Chris Eslanian, who was kind of like my last addition to my roster, if you will, to kind of fill out coins and everything. But
I didn't do as bad as I thought. I had a horrible game from Matt Campbell. Horrible. He gave me 8 points. But I mean, 62 from Holman, 93 from Matt Moore, 45 from Ryan Conrad, 14 from Kirsten, and 58 from Krebs. I think the Cannons overall had a down game in their first game. They're going to bounce back. I'm not afraid of having so many Cannons on my roster. The one thing I do think I should have done is I should have put Mac O'Keefe on my lineup instead of Matt Campbell. And I probably should have taken someone from Atlas. So even if I wouldn't have put Matt O'Keefe there, I should have put Xander Dixon or Miles or someone from Atlas so that I at least represented one of each team. But I'm okay with my roster. I think Matt Campbell is going to bounce. So you can't keep Matt Campbell off the scoreboard for too long. He had an assist yesterday, but he's going to bounce back.
All of that and more in the PLL app. And when you go to the redeem code section in the PLL app, use code OTBPOD. That's code OTBPOD, and you get 500 XP on your account. Again, download the PLL app, go to the redeem code section, and type in code OTBPOD for 500 XP on your account. Deej, we are roughly halfway through the start of the championship series. We'll start with the PLL. Your takeaways so far on what we have seen from these games. Cannons and Whips are 0-1. Archers, Atlas 1-0. Archers, the highest scoring team. Atlas with the largest score differential so far. What are your early takeaways from these first two games of the Champ Series?
Archers look like they came to play. And so does Atlas. Whips and Cannons look like deer in headlights. They both took way too long to call timeouts early in this game. I think that if you take away the first quarter for both of those teams, those games look a lot better for them. They maybe even possibly win those when you look at the momentum and the way that they played in those final three quarters. But as we all know, every game is 4 quarters, and you can't start a game that bad. That's what we have learned from Maryland. That's what we have learned from Boston. What I do say is I think Boston bounces back better than Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
Not that Maryland doesn't have the athletes. I think Ryan Conrad is huge to helping this team be more successful in sixes than they were before. TJ Malone, once again, I said he was a wild man in all caps. The dude's a complete menace. He's going to continue to do crazy things. And Rambo is really just finding himself in this style. So it's going to take a little time for the Whipsnakes to warm up, but they're back at it tonight.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they're back at it tonight against Boston. The one advantage is Boston just played last night. They're getting less rest than you did. They're angry, just like you are. It's going to be a fantastic game, but we're really just going to find out which one of those teams can bounce back better. And the Whipsnakes have a great chance to fill back into that role. Tomorrow, we're going to get maybe the highlight of the weekend with Archers and Atlas, the way those two teams are built, the way they're playing right now, the energy that they have. That game's going to be electric.
That's like for the 1 seed, in my opinion.
It basically is for the 1 seed at this moment. Because what I do say is I could see one of those teams losing back-to-back games over the next couple of days and looking up and, well, you're on the outside looking in now as number 4 or you're number 3 instead of being number 1. So it's a tight battle, and that's what makes championship series so exciting is every single game matters to the T because you only play 3 of them before you get into playoffs. And then, new wrinkle this year, you don't win none of them, go home.
Bye.
Now, don't stay and watch championship game. Go home.
I think the big takeaway from the Whips, who you and I talked last week about it, where I think if they find their stride, they can be a fun team to watch in this format. They had 3 guys really contribute, and that was Ryan Conrad. Shout out to Brad Smith being back. He looked fantastic. And then Matt Rambo looked great. 3 goals in this one. You need that type of production from Matt Rambo. But TJ Malone, while he looked good, only 1 goal. And then the rest of your team was Roman Puglisi, Jack Corus had assists. Nobody else scored goals. You need those complementary pieces like Roman, like Jack Corus, like Colin Heacock, like Wheaton Jacobois to be contributing in scoring, whether it be in multiple assists or being in putting goals in the back of the net. You need those guys just as much as the Ryan Conrads and Brad Smiths and Matt Rambos to be contributing if the Whips want to even sniff getting through the round robin portion of this tournament.
Absolutely. Like, you're going to need help from everyone. Everyone has to step up. That's a big thing you heard from Matt Moore last night after the game. He said, look, Piper Bond, Connor Marr, Bo Pedersen, those guys are helping us a ton. Nick was shooting the net was crazy. Like, they're admitting, like, we know what we're doing down here on offense.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about the guys that are doing the gritty work down here that are really setting the tone for us to be successful. You need all 12 of those guys suited up, plus your goalie to put in and do work to be successful at this in this style of lacrosse. And Archers were a great example of that last night.
And I mean, you had Dylan Malloy and Brian Cosfield put up snowmen. They both had 8 points. Xander Dixon had 5 goals. Miles Jones had 5 points. Ronan Jacoby had 4 points. Tyler Carpenter had 3 points, and that 2-pointer was a screecher. Peyton Rozanka scored a goal. Keegan Kahn scored a goal. Chet Comizio had an assist. Every single field player for the Atlas contributed at least 1 point. The only person that did not contribute a point was Liam Entman. That's how you win in this format. Every single body on that field needs to have scoring contributions if you want to win, because you have teams like Atlas, you have teams like the Archers, and we all know the Cannons will get there, and they played relatively well, like you said, outside of that first quarter, that have the demons on their teams to go out there and score at will, and the Whips are kind of just playing catch up with that.
I don't necessarily think they're playing catch up. I just don't think they quite have the defensive bodies. I think that's where they lack. I think their offense is great. Like, every shot they took yesterday was a good shot. I don't think they were forcing anything. I don't think they weren't open looks. I don't think they weren't moving the ball well. I think that they don't have the bodies to stop the other offenses. When you look at the other 3 teams that are in this battle, they have, I guess, who is it? Atlas, Cannon. You have your Bubba Fairmans, your Zach Goodrich, your Matt Trainers. Those guys, you can hardly stop those guys on a field. So now you're going to put them in tighter constraints, and now you don't have the same skill set. Yeah, those guys are going to eat away. Connor Marr, Piper Bond, Bo Pedersen. Those guys are having a field day. Miles Jones, Dox Aiken. Like, these dudes play midfield, and they've been playing two-way midfield for a while. You can't stop those guys, but they can stop you. And I think that's the big thing here is they have to play better on defense, and they got to get somebody to really step up there and say, hey, we're only going to win this by turning around and playing good defense, so let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, Atlas picked right back up where they left off, and I tweeted this during that game. I said, Stephen Brooks is making a damn good case to be the Team USA head coach in the 2028 Olympics.
Oh, okay. I thought you were about to say something else. Like, now we know.
We've seen him coach 2023 Champ Series with this Atlas team and then play unbelievable and lose by 1 goal in the championship game. Pick right back up where they left off. And I know I asked him about, his coaching style with sixes and what makes him comfortable with it. He said, it's the guys out there on the field doing it. I just imagine that I have a PlayStation 3 controller and I'm controlling what they're doing.
What a quote.
Insane quote. I am the quote monger. I loved when he said that. But that's genuinely, like, if there was somebody right now that I would say, hey, who's a coach that is poised to coach sixes on a big stage that knows a majority of who could potentially be on Team USA? My vote goes to Stephen Brooks.
That's a healthy vote, in my opinion.
And even if he's not the head coach, he's got to be on that coaching staff. Like, he's earned that for sure, and could be a huge contributing factor to Team USA performing at a high clip in the Olympics, on a level that, the world has not seen from Sixes yet because he's that good at coaching this format. To the other game that happened last night, the Cannons and the Archers. I love this. Every single player for the Archers contributed at least 1 point, including Nick Washuta. That's just dominance, baby. Mac O'Keefe was fan-fucking-tastic. I don't think the Cannons were remotely prepared for what they were going to see from him. Like, you can only do so much film study on what Mac O'Keefe does from his box game, from his field game to prepare for him. This is just so suited for Mac O'Keefe. Matt Moore, shout out to Matt Moore, has a family friend or a family member that is going through chemo that he talked about post game and was able to make it out there. So he was playing with an even greater purpose last night, and that showcased. He shot 83.3% and had 7 points. Ryan Ogevin had a game and a half, 2 2-pointers, 6 points. He was sensational. Our guy Piper Bond had a hat trick. Bo Pedersen, our guy, got the scoring going. I was like, that's our guy. That's our guy. Ryan Ambler, our guy, 4 assists, contributing 2 goal contributions. Jackson Morrill looked great in his first run with the Archers. Cole Williams, our guy, looked great, in his first game back from injury. Mason Woodward, who a lot of people question, why is Batesy bringing a pole? You saw Mason Woodward was pretty fucking fun playing Sixes. Connor Marr had a goal in this game. Washuta had an assist. That's what you want to. That is blueprint of what you want to see from a performance in Sixes. Is everybody getting involved? Not necessarily everyone having to score. Like Ryan Ambler did not have a goal, but he contributed to 4 goals happening. That's a winning formula in Sixes.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to go back to what's his face, Dylan Malloy. Did you see?
Oh yeah.
Did you see him absolutely manhandle? I don't remember who it was, but like that was one of the best. Like, that makes me want to just like start a get off me trend. Like he literally just said, "Get off me," and then ripped an absolute missile. And I was like,
Yeah.
Dylan.
He has a family.
Dylan Malloy is the reason why the PLL needs to create a Sixes league. Dylan Malloy in Sixes is like old school Brown Dylan Malloy.
And you would
like,
never expect it. You would never expect it. Like, he's
Like,
the guy too. Like in 2023 when he was on the Chrome, like talked about like how he loved Sixes because it also makes him better playing defense. And Brooksy brought that up in the press conference too. Is like Dylan is not only somebody who's going out there and playing offense, like he loves Sixes because he talks about getting back on defense and wants to play defense in this format. And it's so fun. He's so fun to watch.
Insanely fun to watch. Like oh my God, dude. I love his style of play just because he's so brute yet finesse at the same time. And that's what I like about lacrosse is you don't have to be big. You don't have to be fast. You don't have to be strong. You don't have to be super skillful. You just have to know how to use your skills and your body correctly. Dylan Malloy is a perfect example of that. I just think the Sixes game fits him so much better than the field game. We need a Sixes league just for Dylan Malloy. Like he would win MVP in that league like 1,000 times over. I feel like, oh my God, he's so good at Sixes.
Him, Costabile's unbelievable at Sixes. Picked up right where he left off. Xander doing exactly what we expected of him.
Can I find out why Xander Dixon's so wide open? Oh, wait, it's because they're terrified of the 2-point threat from Atlas. You're like, and I get it. Live with the ones, die by the twos.
Mm-hmm.
Let Xander score 10 goals because we can match 10 goals on the other side. But y'all score 10 of these, we can't match that. We can't go 2-pointer for 2-pointer with you. So we're just gonna let you have what you want.
And they had 4 twos in this game. Atlas did. Just pure illustrious. And I mean, 2-pointers again. Archers had 5 2-pointers in this game. The top 3 leading scorers for the Archers all had at least 1 2. Matt Moore and Ogevin had 2 each. I think, sitting in that press conference too last night with the Archers, I feel like they just have a renewed sense on this Champ Series and knowing that they're the only team who have been to this every single year of its existence and have not gotten to the championship game, I think they feel like they finally have the roster to go out and compete and win this thing. And they want to win the double. They want to win the PLL championship, and they want to win a championship series championship. And you could just see it in Mac O'Keefe's face. You could see it in Ogden's face. You could hear it in Bates's voice. They are confident that they have the roster makeup to go out and win this whole thing. And I said it when we were talking about it last week and when the rosters came out, don't sleep on the Archers, because this is a team that wants to dominate you in any facet as a franchise. And they did just that on opening night for themselves. They should be thrilled about how they played.
Yeah, I think they're going to be a fun team to watch. They're definitely one to look out for. At this point, the favorites should be Atlas and Archers, and I think Cannons are still someone you shouldn't forget about. They've been here before. They've won this before. And if you know anything about their trip last year, when they won this thing, their first game wasn't good. And they bounced back and took control of the championship series. So it definitely could happen again.
And on top of that, we had 2 WLL games, the inaugural games here for the Maryland Charm, New York Charging, Boston Guard, and California Palms. We were talking before we started recording, Deej. It's just a flat-out fact. You know, the Archers and Atlas have been exciting. They have showed pure dominance. Cannons really bounced back. Still a lot to be left to be desired from the Whipsnakes, but game for game wise, the WLL games have been so much more fun to watch from just a complete game sense. They've been so competitive. They've been so much fun to kind of just like see how the approach to the Sixes format is going to be. And that's like one of my main questions whenever we have the press conferences is anybody that played in that Unleashed All-Star game last year, I asked them, I'm like, how much did that help prepare you for this? And how much has it been a like benefit that you have been in a Sixes game that was high level? We all know that was not like a real All-Star game. That was like those teams were trying to win. And it was one of the best games I've ever watched in person. A lot of people say it was one of the best games they've ever seen. And I think it's a huge factor when you have a lot of those women on those teams that played in that Unleashed All-Star game to help the rest of the teams along. And I think we saw it. We'll start with the game that happened on Wednesday night with the Palms. I think it's a huge benefit that Taylor Marino was the goalie in that Unleashed All-Star game. To be prepared as a goalie for Sixes is far more helpful and beneficial to your team, I think, than it is to be a player in the field.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I think the big thing there is that, like, goalie is probably one of the toughest positions when it comes to six. It probably is the toughest position when it comes to Sixes. I think the second is being a natural attackman, having to go play defense for the first time. Buddy, if you don't ride for real, like a Holman or a Cav, defense is going to shock you because you ain't ready. But goalie's tough. You're getting very close shots, alarming speeds. You're going to get a lot of breakaways, and they're going to be low angle shots. They're going to be shots with people in front of you. All those kind of things matter. So to have seen that already, it pays off dividends for you to know what's happening in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, Ali Mastriani is just a dog, an absolute demon last night. Like, what a performance to quite literally just say, hey, y'all, I'm gonna put y'all in this bag right here. And I'm gonna put you on my back and we're gonna win this game.
Not put y'all in this bag.
She was fantastic. A fucking sock trick in her Palms debut.
I mean, hey, why did we expect something different?
Nope.
I hope not, because you're just fooling yourself at that point. The woman's fantastic. Fantastic. And what I liked was watching that game, especially if you're watching the end of it, all of the young kids, high school and under, boy or girl, were on the edge of their seats, standing up, leaning over the rails, screaming. They were excited. I think it helps that game was tight It was a 1-goal game. It ended up being a game that came down to the last second shot. But the energy inside of that building, and I think that energy even came from the day before with the charging and charm game. That game was high energy. The fans were all over it. They loved it. The energy behind these games has been fantastic, both from the stands and out down on the field. They're playing with energy. They're playing hard. They're proving that, hey, we're professional athletes and we want to see more young girls get to this same level. And they're really showing out. Just love the energy from everyone around. But the players are, I mean, unbelievable. Mastriani was just flawless last night. Flawless.
She was fantastic. I mean, that screamer from Bakes was insane. And I think the guard played well. They just did like very similar to the Whip Snakes almost. Like Charlotte North did her thing, had 5 goals in this game. You know, Cassidy Weeks had 5 points, 5 goals in this game. And then you had 3 players with 3 points, 2 players with 1 point, and then 1 player with no point, or 2 players with no points, because your goalie contributed to it on an assist. So you had 2 field players with 0 points. That's not going to win you games in a sixes format when you don't have everyone contributing.
100%. Like we talked about it with the men, and it doesn't change because they're women. You have to be able to play on both sides of the field and contribute on both sides of the field. And more importantly, the loose balls, the turnovers, they're ever more so critically. And let's even put shot selection in there, because unlike other forms of lacrosse, unless it hits the goalie or another player on your shot on the way out, you don't get the ball back. That's just like shooting an air ball in basketball. It's out of bounds, it's going the other way. So your shot selection matters a shit ton in sixes. And we saw that in the first 4 games that we've seen, both on the men's and women's sides, 2 apiece, is that those missed shots, they end up being costly later on down the road, where if you're forcing a bad shot, you're better. You might as well just roll the ball or just drop it in their stick, because it's basically what you're doing. Take your time, find good shots, and then put them in the back of the net.
Yeah, and I mean, Sam Geiersbach led the Palms in scoring with 7. She was fantastic. You know, she contributed in goal scoring and assisting. Had 5 assists in this game. She was phenomenal.
I just want to say, forgive me, very unfamiliar with your game, Miss Geiersbach. Like, hello? I know somebody said they had the best midfielder in the world, but like, I wasn't ready for it. I had no clue what was going on there. Once again, the Palms are making it extremely hard for me to be a Midwest supporting person when it comes to lacrosse. I don't know what side of the fence I'm on quite yet, but last night was definitely a shout for me to come on over.
Sam was great. And I mean, the Palms were like the underdog. Everyone was doubting them. They had the longest odds to win, as we mentioned last week. And going into it, you and I were very confused as to why that was the case. And I don't think the Palms are going to be revered as the underdog much longer in this tournament.
No, maybe not at all now after just last night. I think that what they showed is that they are one of the best teams, and you better be worried about them. If you're not, that's on you.
And then the first game was Maryland, New York. New York wins 14-13 to be the first team in WLL history to get a win. I mean, this game was awesome. Like, both of these games were so much fun, but like this being your inaugural game to showcase to the world, this game fucking rocked.
Ruled. I mean, talk about making a name for yourself, making a name for your sport, showcasing what a sport can really be. They did that to a T. Like, one of the best lacrosse games I've ever seen. Not men's, not women's, just flat out lacrosse.
Like, back and forth, Sydney Black is so fucking good, man.
Bruh.
First hat trick in WLL history. I broke that news to her in the press conference. She fucking rules. I like, you want to talk about made for sixes, Dylan Malloy. Sydney Black, made for sixes.
Bro, I'm not the only one to say it, and I want to give true credit to the GOAT, one of the GOATs, K18. He told y'all.
Mm-hmm.
He told y'all that right to right split is no joke.
She was on
He
demon
not
time.
capping. That right to right split is something serious. She
Demon
pulled it out
time.
a couple times, and I said,
huh?
Feet move that fast?
She's out there like goddamn Flash.
Cooking, bro.
Like SpongeBob. You want to see me run to that rock and back? You want to see me do it again?
What Glorilla say? Let her cook. Like bro, what? It's that simple. It's that simple. When Sydney Black is playing lacrosse, get her the ball and let her cook.
When Sydney Black's playing lacrosse, I am sat. Seated.
Sat.
Seated.
And it
She
doesn't
was
help
off.
she's on a team with Alex Hoss-Holman. I mean, that helps a ton.
Yes.
She's very
And I
good.
know
And she's
Alex
very
will
good at getting
say
the ball
that-
to her friends.
And Alex will say that she needs to play better, and I'm sure, she's going to play better. But even like in a loss, like Maryland was so fun to watch. And they're the non-traditional type of sixes team where they brought a lot of defensive players, but their defensive players played well. And I think that sets you up to kind of be a different look that all these other teams are going to get when you play against Maryland, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think what many people don't realize is defensemen can pass and catch. They may not be the best shooters, but as long as it gets on net, it's got a chance to go in. Because one, the release looks funky. Two, the release is weird because it looks funky. And three, the speed is a lot different than what goalies are used to seeing. Can you imagine being a defenseman that doesn't really know how to shoot, so it's coming out, 55, 60, 65 miles per hour, maybe 70, when that goalie has been looking at 85, 90, 95, 100 miles per hour shots all day? As a baseball guy, you're seeing 98 mile per hour fastballs. You're seeing 88 mile per hour curveballs. All of a sudden, homie comes in and throws you a 55 mile per hour splinter or a 55 mile per hour fastball. You're going to swing and miss just because of what you've been seeing the entire day. Works the same way for goalies. You see a lot of off-speed shots go in. You see a lot of bounces go in, ricochets, because it changes the speed. It's slower. It's not what they've been used to. Defenders get away with goals like that because they're shooting a lot slower than attackmen are, offensive players are. Same thing in sixes. These defenders are going to be able to score goals because of the mechanics of their shooting abilities, and Maryland has a great chance. And then when you couple that with their defensive, they're already better than you at defense. So if they're able to create turnovers and put themselves in good spaces, get transition opportunities, anybody can score 1-on-0. All they got to do is get a 6-inch ball past the goalie in a 6x6 net. It's a lot easier than trying to score in a settled set. So Maryland is a team to watch out for in the fact that they could shut you down on defense if they put it together and then create easy opportunities for themselves on the opposite side.
And shout out Colleen McGarry, head coach of the Charging Philly. Go Birds. Thursday, we're recording this on Thursday, so by the time you hear this, these games will be over. But Thursday, Champ Series games, 7 p.m. It's Whipsnakes Cannons. 9 p.m. It's Maryland Charm, Boston Guards. So a little Maryland versus Boston doubleheader action on Thursday. I also loved in the press conference after Grace asked the Archers guys, are you guys rooting for the Palms being the lone West Coast representatives? And Bates goes, yeah, what the heck? Go Palms. He's going like this. Let's go Palms. So that was great. And Mac O'Keefe was like, yeah, we'll root for them. We're just waiting for a Utah team now. And then on Friday, it's Palms versus New York Charging at 6 p.m. and Atlas versus Archers at 8 p.m. So a little bit of a different time slot there, 6 and 8 rather than 7 and 9 on Friday. And then on Saturday, it is the quad full-blown schedule all day action. 12:30 p.m. on Saturday, Maryland Charm, California Palms. 2:30 p.m., New York Charging, Boston Guard. 6 p.m., New York Atlas, Boston Cannons. 8 p.m., Maryland Whipsnakes, Utah Archers in the final day of round-robin play. And then on Sunday, 10:30 a.m., ESPN2 to be announced. And then that's for the WLL. And then the PLL is at 6 p.m. on ESPN2 on Sunday. And then on Monday, it's 11 a.m. WLL championship game on ESPN2. And then 1:30 p.m. ESPN2 for the PLL championship. DJ, after seeing some action, I know you said that about the WLL last week when we were picking winners for the Champ Series. After seeing a couple games now, do you have any opinion on potential winner of the WLL Championship Series?
I think this one's pretty clear as day. If you're not looking at the Charging or Palm, I think you're wrong. But I do think both Boston and Maryland have very even chances to make me look like a fool. Boston, more particularly, just has to get one or two more stops. They win that game the other night. Mm-hmm. It's that simple. Or, maybe not hit a pipe or get a little bit closer. And maybe, I think they missed a few opportunities where they had some people open. So they're right on the outside. But you can say the same thing for Maryland. They played a Charging.
There's weird penalties down the stretch, too.
Yep, there's weird penalties. But then, you look at the Charging game, and you played a very good offensive team as a defensive team. So when you made stops and didn't score goals on the other side, that affected you because they were going to come back and score goals on the opposite side at some point.
Right.
So I think every team has almost an even shot, but the front runners are easily the Charging and the Palms.
So there you have it. You guys can also leave us a voicemail, speakpipe.com/OTBLaxPod, to let us know how you're feeling about the Champ Series, about the NLL, college, whatever it may be. Our voicemail line is open 24/7, 365. Speakpipe.com/OTBLaxPod. It is linked in the description as well, so you can leave us a voicemail and get your thoughts off on everything in the world of lacrosse. And we go from Champ Series to the college game, everybody. And our college breakdown is brought to you by our friends over at 47 Brand. We love 47 Brand. They truly provide the best hats in the game. Some of the best just vintage looking like sports apparel you will ever find. Plus, they've got insane, amazing college athletics gear, top to bottom. Deej, I think we're going to do this every week for the 47 Brand ad. We did UNC last week. I want you to give me a random college lacrosse team, and I will look up their gear on 47 Brand for the people.
Who else has dope gear? Let's go Utah.
Let's see if Utah is here.
They probably don't have any lax stuff specifically.
Utah Utes.
They
got some fire gear though.
They got some fire because of the color scheme. You can't
hoodies. They got a nice little cleanup dad hat. They got it for you. Plus some good football stuff as well. 47 Brand is the place to shop for all types of college athletic gear. Use our link in the description. Along, if you're an Eagles fan, shop for the Super Bowl Champions capsule. They've got all the new hats available. I have mine on the way. I'm excited to get it. It looks so sick. I'm pumped. Use our links in the description. Shop with 47 Brand and get free shipping when you use our link on all orders when you join the 47 family. And shout out to 47 Brand. We love 47 Brand, and they're going to be integrated into our college coverage for not only lacrosse, but hey, Deej, before you know it, it's going to be March Madness.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm excited.
Real hooper hours.
Big hoops.
And also, subscribe to the Outside the Box Podcast YouTube channel if you want the OTB College Show each and every week with Deej and Hoots. We are 50 subscribers away from getting that show to the people. So subscribe if you want the OTB College Show. But Deej, how we feeling after another week of college lacrosse? I've been doing the PLL app, Pick'em in the app, and I gotta say, not too shabby so far. Not too shabby for your boy. But how are we feeling post another week of college lacrosse?
I'm feeling pretty good. I think the season's coming together well. I think a lot of guys that are expected to show out are showing out. Chris Kavanaugh getting his debut not too long ago. He popped out with 9 points in his first game on the year. So I think this year is going to be another one of those exciting years where we get very good lacrosse from everyone that we are expecting to get good lacrosse from. Syracuse has been fantastic to start the year. I don't think anybody didn't expect that. They're Syracuse. So I really just think college lacrosse is in a good space. Michigan's 1-1, but it's better than 0-2. Better than 0-2.
That's valid. Looking at my pick'em, well, let me go back. I'm 8 for 10 on the season.
I believe I am also 8 for 10.
I went 5-0 week 1, and I lost 2 last week.
Same. I lost the Michigan game, and who was the other one? Somebody else lost last week that was not supposed to lose. Who did Utah play? Denver? No.
They play them this week.
I forgot who Utah played. Let me go look.
I got it right here. It was Delaware.
Yes. And Delaware beat Utah. Utah was not supposed to lose that game.
Yeah.
Go Delaware. No, just don't.
Shout out to the Hens.
Big
Shout out
Hens
Chris
squad.
Collins. Shout out Matt DeLuca.
Did you see the way they won that game, by the way?
Yeah, insane.
Man down. Taking on the whole team to score the G-Dub?
It's the whole team. The TLN Pick'em games this week are Albany Colgate, Albany's season opener. Harvard Providence, Harvard's first game of the year, if I'm not mistaken. Georgetown and Penn, Penn's first game of the year. Penn State and Princeton. It's Princeton's opener. And then Syracuse and Maryland, the big dog game, 2v3 on the schedule as well. Those games on the docket. Any other games this week that kind of pique your interest this weekend as we go into another weekend of college?
I'm actually really excited for this weekend. Nothing popping Friday night for Valentine's Day, really, in the college realm. So turn your focus to NLL and Champ Series. That's where all the fun's going to be that night. Rutgers and Army's interesting. I think Army will kind of come in and roll. What we saw from Rutgers early on hasn't been too exciting. And I think Army is Army. They come out and there's a few things they are really good at. They're pretty solid at football and they're damn good at lacrosse. So Rutgers is going to have to come out and really give them a game to come out with a win. But I'm leaning Army in that game. Penn and Georgetown. Obviously, all the Ivy Leagues getting started this week. They always start later than everybody else and then want some kind of reward at the end of the year for having a better record. How about you play week 0, play week 1, then we'll holla at you. Don't come in week 2 thinking you deserve some extra cookies. Get in here and play with everybody else. But yeah, we're excited for Penn and Georgetown to go at it. I think Georgetown comes up out on top, and I think that's due to already having played this year. Having that experience and a couple games on your belt, you're already warmed up. It's the first game of the year for Georgetown. So I think that plays a factor. Hopkins and Maryland. Not Maryland. Hopkins and Loyola. Mm-hmm. This is the battle for Charles Street. I think we all know where I'm going with this one. Hopkins is 2-0 on the year, and they look damn good in that 2-0 on the year. They're stylish as well while doing it. Looking good and feeling good is more than half the battle, and Hopkins has that on check. I think this will be a battle. It will be a tight game. It will be fun. It will be electric because that's what it means when you're literally down the street from one of your biggest rivals.
And shout out to my boy Russell Melendez. Come on the pod.
Please. Probably. I'm not even going to say probably. All right, y'all. Game of the weekend. Another team from that dumb state of Maryland. No, I'm kidding. And another team. I do in fact hate this Maryland team because I've always hated Maryland, and Michigan and Maryland got beef. So yeah, Maryland's going to take on Syracuse. By far game of the week. 2v3, however you want to cut it, 3v2, 2v6. There's all kinds of rankings that are out there that have these teams in different numbers. It doesn't matter how you put it. These are 2 top 5 teams at the moment. They're battling. It's going to be in College Park. That's the one advantage Maryland has. But if you think I'm picking against Joey Spallina, Michael Roa, Trey Deer, and the rest, Owen Hiltz and the rest of that Syracuse offense, don't forget they still got Billy Dwan III and Michael Grace back there. Get out of here. I didn't even say Jackson Birtwhistle. Cuse winning this game for sure. Run it. I'm excited actually to sit down and watch this game. So if you don't have anything to do early on, Cuse Maryland is the game you should have on lock. I'm hoping Air Force comes out and puts the whooping on Ohio State because bleep that team down south. Princeton taking on Penn State. Once again, Penn State hot on the year, 2-0, up to, I think, 9 is their current ranking, top 10. Can you beat an Ivy League team in their first game of the year while you're already feeling good? I say yes, but Princeton may come out in shock. They've made a couple runs these last couple years, and they look solid. Yale and Nova take each other on Saturday, welcoming Yale into the conversation. Nova's going to be a big topic all year for me. Being a D3 guy, them taking on Cabrini, having a couple Cabrini guys. Can those Cabrini guys help Nova get back to, success like they've seen? Or is it just another failed project? We'll find out soon. Utah and Denver, obviously exciting to watch and will be fun as Utah continues to try and be an out west team that makes a name for themselves. Last game on Saturday that I want to talk about before I get into the middle of the week. Michigan's got to get back in the win column this year. This year, it has to get back in the win column this weekend. You lost to North Carolina. It was a good game. You made up, some of those goals and made it reasonable. I think it ended up being like 16-10 as final score or something along that nature. But you gotta win this game. Be 2-1. You are better than Hobart. You have to go out and prove it. You did that against Marquette. You proved that you can battle with what I'm going to call the best conference in lacrosse, the ACC. All of their members are ranked. North Carolina proved last weekend why they should continue to be ranked. You have to prove why you should continue to be ranked as well. Go out and beat Hobart handily. I have no problems as a Wolverine fan. You don't? We got beef. You heard it here first.
Can I just read you this tweet that popped up on my timeline? Because
please.
This may be a Hall of Fame tweet. Someone tweeted, Space Boy is shaped in a way that's never been seen before. That's not the Hall of Fame tweet. It was quote tweeted by @Malech Thomas. He built like strep throat.
Excuse me? What does strep throat look like?
Apparently Space Boy. They said this man's built like a sickness.
No, for real. Like, how do you even become?
Oh my God. That's incredible.
Absolutely incredible.
Continue on, though. I apologize for interrupting there. That
please
was
interrupt
too
me
good
with stuff like that anytime.
That was too good to pass up.
But Sunday, not a ton going on. The one thing we can focus on is more of the battle for Maryland going down. Towson now takes on Navy, so they're going to get in on the action. UMass Lowell, I do want to shout out, got their first win in over 3 years, 6 years, a very long time. Congratulations, fellas. Keep the grind going. You got another winnable game coming in with Mercyhurst. Hopefully you can stack a couple together and start to feel good about yourselves. There's a slate of games on Tuesday. A lot of them are Ivy League games. I mean, you got Harvard, Colgate, Brown, Boston, Albany, Penn, Dartmouth, Mass, Quinnipiac, St. John's. Really hyped. I mean, the game of the night is Virginia High Point. That's one to always circle, is when those Sun Belt, American, A-10, those kind of teams take on the ACC, the Big Ten, the Ivy. Those games are fun. Turn them on. Maybe you're looking to see someone get shocked, and you just might. it just might happen. So that's the one game for Tuesday, and the one game for Wednesday you got to keep your eyes on is Army and Yale. That's going to be a fun game as well. But oh no.
Just for the people that will be tuning into the championship series on Friday, Friday night's games have been moved up 1 hour each. So the Charging Palms game is now at 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Plus, and Atlas Archers is now at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Plus. So instead of 7 and 9, it's now 6 and 8. The only other game that stood out to me, you just said Army Yale, which was the last one that stood out to me. That was midweek before we record again. So, yeah, if you want the OTB College Show, subscribe to the Outside the Box Podcast YouTube channel, youtube.com/@OTBLaxPod. That's all we got for you guys on this one. I will be down at Champ Series this weekend with CFO Margie, taking in all the sights and sounds of the final day of round robin action and the semifinals and the finals. So follow along on social at OTB LaxPod across the board. Follow DJ SCS_next great. Follow me, KBIZZL311. Follow Chase at the PLL Pipeline, and follow Hoots at Hoots Sports Media. He will be at the Utah-Denver game this weekend as well, taking photos and being Hoots on the ground in collegiate style for us. So definitely stay tuned for that. Subscribe to the pod. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave us a 5-star review. It goes a long way for helping this show continue to grow, helps us hit new audiences, and allows us to continue doing dope stuff with and for you guys. And subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. That is where you get full video episodes of this show every week, full video episodes of every show on our network, clips, shorts, live streams, original video content. It's all on our YouTube channel. Trying to get to 1,100 subscribers before March Madness tips off. We're at 1,021. That means 79 more subscribers in the next month. Let's make that happen. Smash the like button, ring the bell icon, leave a comment down below. Check out shootoutforsoldiers.com/events. See their entire 2025 schedule, which events you want to register for, how you can donate, get involved, volunteer. It's all available at shootoutforsoldiers.com/events. So you can register today for all of their upcoming events throughout 2025. And this has been episode number 362 of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA ranked, and of course viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box Podcast, the official lacrosse podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. For Deej, I'm KB. Banners fly forever. Go Birds. Enjoy the weekend of lacrosse. I'll see you at Champ Series. If you're going to be there, come say what's up. And until next time, we'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace.